Well, Pat Comersford joins me now to talk about the race card and also to wish each other a Happy New Year. And in particular, Pat, I'd like to say congratulations to you because you got engaged over the festive period.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rishi. Yeah, exciting. Great to have that, I guess, monumental moment in your life. Locked down for life now, which is a scary thing to say, but at the same time, she's a lovely girl, and I don't think I'll be doing any better. So, wow. She's looking forward to what life brings with Sophie. It's an exciting time, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yeah, I wish you better luck than my first marriage. That didn't go very well. But fingers crossed it works out for someone else. Let's look ahead to the racing that we have today, and just a brief word about the weather. Because we had a sprinkling of rain this morning here at Meydan, probably just taking the sting out of it. But that was earlier today. It finished at about midday, and it's been windy since. So I imagine most of that moisture would have dried out now.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, this track would have the capabilities of absorbing quite a bit of water. I mean, it's just depending on how that top layer goes with it. But look, at the end of the day, I don't think we got enough rain to be, I guess, making too much of a difference. I think the big factor is when we come into the sort of later part of the evening as to that, as I said, that top layer, whether or not we do get a bit of chop out on above. But I'd say from right down to the base, it'd be fast enough to be keeping times as honest as possible.
Good quality racing from race 1 to 8. Let's start off by having a look at the first race, which is on the turf, the Zabil turf, sponsored by Daman Markets, by Daman Securities LLC. Lots of good horses lining up for this, lots of familiar names, horses that have gone close in the past, just recently, the likes of Asasi, and even Intricacy, who runs in the race today, a horse that I'm particularly interested in for Simon Ed Crisford and Tygo Shea. And we might come to that a little bit later on. But let's have a look first of all at that race where Asasi ends up finishing second, beaten by his stable companion on Festive Friday. Intricacy in the striped colours never really gets a run, but a fine effort from Asasi, dropping to 10 furlongs.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. There was plenty of hard luck stories, and hopefully we'll see some of that form translate. I mean, when you look at the two horses that won, you've got to give, who ran 1 and 2.
Yeah.
You got to remember that those horses did come out of quite a mild race at Abu Dhabi. As a result, I don't think a lot of them, including the market overseas, gave either of these horses much respect. I think both of them were well out over sort of 12 or 13 to 1. Asasi even more, somewhere over 20 to 1. So, I mean, we weren't expecting the result, but at the same time, I think the race will hold up regardless, this one here. I mean, as you said, there was a lot of hard luck stories. Intricacy was right at the top of that. So interesting to see if Asasi can back up that performance. I'd like to hope he would. Funnily enough, I'd probably rate him as more of a chance than Homebrew. I think he's been a bit plain in recent times, and even though Asasi sits, a few rating points below, I'd say Asasi would be the pick of the two, to be fair, in my personal opinion. But it's a nice race to open up the program. I went 5, 3, 1 and 4, and I've gone with Endless Victory on top. I think he is the horse that jumps off the page to you, the son of Teofilo. William Buick and Charlie Appleby combining for a number of chances tonight. I mean, they've been electric from the moment we jumped on the grass last meeting. So very exciting to see how this race starts. 2,000 metres on turf here at Meydan with the track. Not sure how it will play. Opens up a few question marks, but I'll stick with the Royal Blue here, and number 5, Endless Victory, on top for me.
Yeah, he looks like an obvious place to put the pin on. When you consider his form, it is very good, and he's also got, you imagine, the scope to improve. Look at the pedigree. He's likely to get better. He's only had 5 starts so far, but there were a couple of runs that he put up last year which were bad, and no obvious reasons why he performed below par. So that was just at the back of my mind. Like I say, I do like Intricacy. I felt like he was open to a lot of improvement. Didn't really get a run at the races last time out. And although he was behind Asasi that day, I thought he emerged like a better horse for the future. So he was the one for me.
I want to make an honourable mention to Sean. I think he's a horse that's getting on now, but I mean, Jamie Osborne's stable's going well. The horses are fit enough, going off the results that we've seen so far, to be making an impression felt, and he's had that run under the belt already. He gets back. He's one of those horses you'll be holding your breath if you are in his corner. Yeah. But look, he's ticking along well to be a horse that will be making an impression in the next couple of starts.
Our director here, Sean, loves this horse, Sean.
And he's gone against it.
I can't believe it. He's lost faith. It's very disappointing.
If I knew he'd gone against it, I would have tipped him because I mean, like endless victory. Sean's just given endless victory the kiss of death, really.
And unfortunately, he's probably given Sean the chance here without our director backing. So let's see how he gets on tonight. I genuinely think he's got a good chance because of that little touch of class that he brings into the race, as you say, competing in better company. But it's quite although Godolphin are well represented with those two from the Charlie Appleby stable, it's quite a competitive race. I mean, the former Godolphin Charlie Appleby runner, Blue Trail, who set the track record, lines up here for Bhupat Seeman. He's an interesting runner. He
is. He's very much so. A nice pickup for suited and booted racing at the Godolphin sale. So interesting to see how he goes. The one thing that I found about this race, it just lacks a bit of pace. So for those horses that do have a tendency to get back, they will have to be extra good tonight in order to be, I guess, rolling into the race, because I don't think the pace is going to help them too much here. So I went with a horse that's probably a little bit closer to the speed and will make his own luck in the front, up in the first few, and that's Endless Victory. Okay, let's move on and talk about our second race, and we move to the dirt surface for this 250,000 dirham Sword of Honour Stakes, sponsored by Daman Markets, by Daman Securities LLC. This is over 1,600 metres, and of course Oasis Boy, one of two in the race for Doug Watson. He's also got Nayar, both horses winning last time out. Bhupat Seeman with a few interesting runners in this race as well. Oasis Boy, to be fair, Pat, you made a good call for Oasis Boy when he returned to action back on the 13th of December. It was a very brave performance. Keep an eye on him in the closing stages, straight and level in behind. But he gets struck with the whip from a rival in the latter part of the race. I'm sure if I got whacked on the snout, especially after a couple, 1,000 metres into the race, and you wouldn't have that sort of tendency to run through it. So very exciting to see how Oasis Boy goes here. I think the wide draw is going to be quite a concern here for him. He's actually going to have to be even better here tonight because he does have a full capacity field here. Well, in 13, it's closer to capacity. So interested to see how he goes. I've actually gone against him here tonight. I thought Straight and Level was just as impressive coming on from the back of the field. He cut the corner and went through, and I think as Oasis Boy came past them, Straight and Level found again up on the running rail, and he gets a slight benefit here at the weights. He's 3 kilos difference to Oasis Boy this time around as opposed to 1.5. So I think Straight and Level at the weights gets an even better chance. Just needs a little luck and hopefully can find a spot maybe just off the fence in the running line there from gate number 8.
I like Nayar. I think he's improving with every start. He improved from his first run to his second run this season, and I believe even the manner in which he won last time out, there's more to come. Obviously, it's going to be another step up the ladder for him, but I just get the impression that he's a horse who's just blossoming. Yeah. He's about to deliver on that promise early on. One other name to throw into the mix would be Cupid's Dream. If he was better drawn, I'd throw him into the mix, Cupid's Dream, but he's drawn in 12. Last time out, obviously, he just folded, having looked the winner all the way through 90% of the race. Drop back in trip should suit.
I think the drop back in trip is going to be a plus. I mean, he's one of those ones now, just on that performance, I'd need to see him do it now before I could tip him on top of a few of these. But look, he's got to be rated as a top 4 contender in this race for sure. But Straight and Level for me. I like the fact that Tiger O'Shea's decided to jump on board here. Bhupat with quite a few engaged. So looking forward to hopefully seeing Straight and Level be finding himself in the finish here.
All right, we move on to the Sword of Excellence Stakes next. Race 3. It's worth 300,000 dirhams. It's sponsored by Zoho, and it's over 1,200 metres on the turf. And again, some familiar names. We welcome back Batwan, who of course was a former winner here at the Carnival a couple of seasons ago. And we also have horses that were in action just recently, the likes of Bombay Bazaar and Rassas. Like to see Bombay Bazaar last time out because he came back to the sort of form that we saw from him in the UK. And I think he will enjoy returning to a distance of 6 furlongs today. The trips seemed to just find him out, but it was encouraging to see this effort. Rassas, Topper Bill, Ad Shibli and Mikyas all involved.
Yeah, look, it was a great performance from him. I think, as you said, 6 is going to be a much better and more economical trip for him. They went very, very hard up in front. He stayed close enough to the speed and was still able to reel in a few of these. I mean, the winner was very impressive. The runner-up too, but look, Bombay Bazaar was very good there to find himself into third, and I think he's definitely one that's got to be given a lot of respect. I just keep coming back to, and look, it's a question mark of whether or not he's ready to go this early in the campaign. But I mean, Emirati Anna was 0.67 seconds off the winner in the Alquoz in California Spangle, who went on to break the track record at 107.5. So I'd like to think that if Emirati Anna's got any sense of fitness here whatsoever, that only carrying 2.5 kilos more than he did there in the Alquoz, we'd see him running a decent enough race here in this event. I know he's first up, that's obviously got to be considered, and 62 is a decent enough weight, but yeah, look, he's proven down this track. He's proven on this track that he doesn't mind the straight here, and yeah, I know this seems to be a field full of quite a few oldies. There's a couple of horses certainly getting onto the back end of their careers here in this race, but out of all of those, especially those three up the top, I couldn't make a case for Mikyas or Batwan, but I can very much make a case for Emirati Anna, and I'm going to stick with him here.
Yeah, I can see that. Although he's 9, I think sprinters, they have far more longevity because of the way they race. They obviously don't train that hard because they race more regularly over the shorter distances, and I think that Emirati Anna, even though he's now 9, he's definitely included, but I just wonder there might be a couple of horses that are improving. Reggie was interesting because I don't know how good he's going to be sprinting. He's not really bred to go over this trip, but it's interesting that Michael Costa's having a stab at this sort of distance early doors.
I'm interested to see if Billy Webster coming back onto the turf now can translate that form from Jebel Ali. I mean, the fitness is going to be no question whatsoever. I was approached having a chat about this race with the ERA vet, head vet in David Craig, and he was telling me about the name Silky Wilkie, and apparently Silky Wilkie was a Hearts player back in the day. So yeah, not that my football knowledge is too well, but I thought a very interesting name when you explained it to me. So Silky Wilkie, I'm interested to see how he goes as well, and good to see Sam James picking up a ride here as well.
As a Man United fan, I'm not going to talk about football. So let's just refuse any more conversations on that particular subject.
All football conversation from henceforth is embargoed.
Done.
So.
Yes. But Silky Wilkie, what I would say is when he produced one of his best performances, which came at Musselburgh in the spring of 2023, he showed so much speed from the gates, and he's clearly a very fast horse, and I just wondered that if he did, whether he'd stay, because obviously he's in 11, and that might slightly alter the way the races have been run, because if he got away from the gates early, made the pace, quite a few races run over the straight track have been towards the far side, but he might blow that apart. We'll have a look later on, but it's a really, again, another very intriguing race. The next race I'm very excited about, although there's some lightly raced horses in the UAE 2000 Guineas Trial, sponsored by Kentucky Derby. It's worth 300,000 dirhams, 1,400 metres on the dirt. It's a lightly raced horses, but they promise a lot, including the 2 runners from Julio Ovasquaga's stable, Don Vaccaro and Nam Frick, the top 2 horses. But down at the bottom, it's Aragata Gozamazu, who was due to run on Festive Friday, unfortunately missed that engagement, but she's back. She's got an awkward draw in 11 today, but she is very talented based on the bit of evidence we have seen.
Yeah, look, very impressive here. Look, I mean, it was a night though that I guess horses had that, any horse that took it up in front had that sort of chance to break away from the rest of them, and we saw a lot of big margin winners that night, especially on speed big margin winners. So look, I'm respecting the performance. I think has got to be given a fair bit of respect, and I said obviously the conditions of the weights see her getting in very light here, so that's obviously going to be a plus. I mean, I thought that the performance of Awab, to be fair,
really good.
In his maiden victory over 1,400 metres, I know that was a little while before, in early November. We haven't seen him for quite a while, but I just keep coming back to that. I mean, I think 2 kilos difference, and a wide draw between the two of them. I think Arigato Gozaimasu is not going to get it as easy up in front this time around as she did last time out. And I think looking at a horse like Awab, who was able to absorb pressure throughout the race,
first time out,
and then burn away to go on and win by 5.5 lengths. That strikes me as a horse that's going to come on plenty from that. And Danny Tudhope stays on board here, knows the horse quite well, and I guess reports from the stable are that he's going and ticking along very well from that first run. So I'm going to lean with Awab. I know that the gate is going to make it very, very tough, but hopefully they run fast enough, and he might be getting back and making some ground in the late stages. So I'm going to take a chance on Awab.
I'm going to take a chance on one of the Julio Olajuaga runners, and that's Don Vaccaro, who's had 3 starts in South America, and he won a Grade 3 last time. He's won a variety of distances. Just given his record with horses that translate from South America to Dubai, and especially this age, 3-year-olds, I just felt that it was a vulnerable setup for some of the other horses because of where Arigato Gozan Mazu is, and Awab, they are out in 11 and 12. But I take your point about Awab being probably a little bit more adaptable to where he's drawn in the race.
I mean, like, it's just, I think I had egg on my face a couple of times last season, just, I guess, giving Southern Hemisphere breds a little bit more respect. I mean, they always seem to run a very good race. Understandable, they are slightly older and more mature than the Northern Hemisphere breds, but you've also got horses there as well that I think that they're a bit found out late with that extra weight. I mean, how many times did we see a horse like Autobahn get beat last time out carrying that extra weight? He's got all the class, but unfortunately there was just one that got to him every single time. I wouldn't be surprised to see Don Vaccaro and Namfrick, who I know the stable's actually got even bigger opinion about than Don Vaccaro. Probably over 7, you'd say Don Vaccaro's got the advantage. But I mean, both of them have ability and will be running on. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see him run top 3. Is there one that's down in the weights that's going to just get there over the line when it gets with it, if it's a high pressure race? So it's a very interesting race. I'm looking forward to it, but I can very much understand your pick here with Don Vaccaro. He's certainly the pick of the stable, that's for sure.
Well, Pat asked the question, and of course you will tell us the answer with your excellent race call later tonight.
We certainly will.
Thank you. The first of our feature races tonight comes on the turf. It is the Zabil Mile, a race that's been dominated by Charlie Appleby over the years. This race is worth 850,000 dirhams. It's sponsored by PHI Advertising. 1,600 metres, and Charlie Appleby has won it 7 times in the last 11 years. Unsurprisingly, he's got 2 very good contenders, Ottoman Fleet and Noble Dynasty. Ottoman Fleet has yet to win here at Meydan, but he ran very well in defeat in the Jebel Hatta last year. He was ahead of San Donato, and of course this is very good form.
Yeah, I think it's as good a form as you'll get here for coming into a race like this. I mean, I think this race definitely held up. We saw a couple of nice performances out of the event, but that was the one thing I had with Ottoman Fleet. It just seems to be thereabouts, but unfortunately, it's just not ever completely and utterly good enough. So, look, I like both of the chances here of Charlie Appleby's. I think they both make a serious case here, and I keep coming back to San Donato here, which is funnily enough. I mean, I found it a really, really hard race. I mean, San Donato's got the benefit of a run under the belt. He's certainly not one that you would be like. I mean, if you were overseas and you were looking at and having a wager on this race, I mean, he's certainly not one that you would be making a case here for, because I mean, there's so many factors that could go wrong. But at the end of the day, just the manner in which he savaged the line last time out, to be pipped by only 1 here, and he didn't certainly get the most unkindly run down the straight. So I'd like to hope that San Donato can find some of that old form. I mean, he's 9 years old now, and he was a Group 2 winner last year, but he very rarely runs a bad race, and I think that native approach could be a nice horse as well that he was just pipped by. So San Donato for me, but a tough race.
I like Poker Face. I like the fact that he's drawn in stall 2. San Donato's old pal Pat Dobbs is riding Poker Face. I'd like to see Pat get him out and get him on the lead. Last time out he won at Kempton, which is unusual for him because he came from off the pace. Holloway Boy, who was in that race, faced an awkward trip. He raced wide all the way through it, so I think he's better than that. But I like the idea of Poker Face being drawn into going forward and then dictating, because I think that could suit him here at Meydan in particular, and he might just get a few of them on the stretch, even though he's probably got if Ottoman Fleet's at his absolute best, he might have a little bit to find. But Ottoman Fleet is yet to win here at Meydan.
That's the big worry. I mean, and then Ottoman Fleet, I feel would probably be more suited to a race over a bit more ground here. And then you've got Noble Dynasty, who's probably a bit more of a horse over 7. I mean, 6, 8's probably stretching him. So I mean, I like the fact that we're both in the corner of. Even though we're on the corner of different horses here in this race, we both feel that the Charlie Appleby horses are vulnerable. It's fun saying that now, but we could be left with serious egg on our face a little bit later on if they do come out and one of them decides to blitz it, or they both run 1-2. But I guess there are vulnerabilities there.
There are vulnerabilities for the 2 Appleby horses in this race, and I can understand why people would look elsewhere. I'm going for Poker Face in the Zabeel Mile. Up next is the Dubawi Stakes. Race 6 is worth 700,000 dirhams. It's sponsored by Bingati Developers, 1,200 metres on the dirt, and of course it features last year's winner in Tuz, last year's Golden Shaheen winner, and a horse who returned with a vengeance in the Al Gahood, and he was very impressive in seeing off one of his main rivals today in colour up. I think it's very hard to oppose Tuz today.
Something has to seriously go wrong for him to get beat. That's plain and simple. That's where I sort of assess the race. I mean, I like the fact that Colour Up was able to muster late here and make, I guess, some indentations there when the rest of them couldn't. I think that's going to see him running an okay race. That is on the proviso that Tuz doesn't get such an electric lead here and find himself up in front. We know his gate speed is just phenomenal, and that's going to put him in really good stead here. Funnily enough, I actually thought that back to 6 furlongs here. I know they were trying him at a mile, but I thought Strobe's probably a little under his rating. I think he's probably got a few points in hand to be running a nice race. I mean, if you took this race and took Tuz out of it, who do I think would be winning the race? I would have said Strobe here, to be fair. I thought he's probably the horse that's got the most upside out of them. But, I mean, you're essentially going off the hypothetical that Tuz doesn't jump or Tuz doesn't find the front. I mean, he's a horse as well that has got the rating he does because he's so adaptable, and his ability to be able to overcome trouble. We saw it in the Golden Shaheen when he was basically pestered the entire way, and then into the straight was passed by Don Frankie, and Tuz was able to rally up again and go there. He doesn't have to lead, but if he finds the lead, I mean, it's curtains. That's as simple as that. He's going to be winning this, I'd say. And the market is all over him here. They're not certainly giving you any price to find out overseas. He's got to be the nap of the night, but that's no surprise, I don't think.
Yeah, I think that's a fair call. He is the outstanding sprinter out here, Tuz, and he will take all the beating. I think Colour Up might get close again, finish second, but he's got quite a bit of ground to make up with Bhupat Seemal's Golden Shaheen winner. Okay, now Pat mentioned one of the hot pots in Tuz, but another hot pot runs in our penultimate race, the Jumeirah Stakes. Back on the turf, 1,400 metres, it's worth 300,000 dirhams, and it's sponsored by the Jockey Club. A new relationship between the Jockey Club and the Dubai Racing Club, just announced recently. And Godolphin, strongly represented here. Charlie Appleby with a couple of most interesting runners. Said bin Saror has got Desert Shadow making his debut here, a son of Sayuni, out of a pretty talented mare by Dubawi. So some good pedigrees on show, but it is Halassan who appears to be the standout horse in this race, and particularly judged by this win at Doncaster last time out. Look at the horse that finishes second to him in the Michael Tabor orange and blue colours, and that is a horse called Camille Pissarro, who is a very talented performer for the Aidan O'Brien team. And Halassan just got better as the season went on last year.
I didn't know too much about this horse. I've actually had to go back and do quite a bit of, I guess, homework. But I mean, 2 wins and 3 minor placings from 5 starts has been basically almost perfect in how they probably would have wanted this horse to start. And yeah, I mean, look, your Camille Pissarro's come out and won a juvenile Group 1 on Arc Day in Longchamp. So I mean, that just shows how strong that race's form line should be. I know Gate 10's a little concern here, especially considering that we are heading over that sort of 1,400 metre distance where it's not the longest of runs to that first bend, and you really do need to be finding a spot in running. You don't want to be 3 deep around that back turn, but I think there's enough class there to be taking this race out. I would be shocked to not see Hallasan win this, going off what we've seen on show so far. I mean, the only on exposed form, I don't think there's anything in this race that can beat him, straight up. It's whether or not we've got a horse like Desert Shadow or Sahan or something like that that hasn't run yet that I think could come out and just blitz them on debut, and we haven't unearthed a star yet.
Yeah.
Hallasan's a class above quite a few of these, and I'd say will be very, very hard to beat here, especially on level weights.
His stable companion, I thought, if you're looking for an alternative, Age of Gold was obviously, and often is, the biggest danger to the Appleby runners is the Appleby runner. And Age of Gold, when he won first time out, looked very good. And then he ran at Ascot. And quite often Charlie Appleby runs in the Chesham Stakes at Royal Ascot, one of his more talented runners, or a horse that he believes is capable of something. You think of a horse like Ancient Truth, for example, who progressed to win a Group 1 at the back end of last season. He got beaten that day by Bedtime Story. I don't think the ground was in his favour. And then after that, he went to York, just got touched off in a nursery, might have been a little bit unlucky. And then on his final run of the season at Haydock, he disappointed when he was quite well fancied in what turned out to be a good race. The winner, Luthos, arguably Charlie Fellows says his best horse he might have trained as a 2-year-old. But I think Age of Gold is not a pushover. And although Hallasan is very short, and I can understand why William Buick is riding him, I thought Age of Gold has still got a lot of potential. So I wouldn't be surprised if he locked horns with Hallasan, and he's likely to see the race out. If there is a good gallop, he's likely to see the race out better than Hallasan. He's got clearly more stamina in his pedigree. Hallasan seems to be a more speedier type. Yep. So that would be just something at the back of my mind if I played.
Especially if Hallasan doesn't find, he misses away by half a length or a length and he finds himself 3 deep and posted. I mean, that is a very likely thing of happening. The field's big enough. Whether or not William Buick decides to improve and sort of, if he gets caught 3 deep, he can roll forward and put himself up a little bit and use him a little bit more earlier. But I mean, I think Age of Gold, you can definitely make a case for him. But I mean, I think I'm firmly in the corner of Hallasan here, and I can understand why people would be. I mean, look, to be fair, I'd be surprised if any pick sixes here tonight don't have Tuz and Hallasan as outside of their pick six. I think they're the 2 locks for the night, and I mean, I think you can get better than, for people overseas, I think they can get better than even money for Tuz into Hallasan the double. So I mean, I think that's probably your safest play for the night. For those, especially your pick sixes, I wouldn't be going against the 2. That's for sure.
Okay, they do appear to be 2 standout choices today, Tuz and Hallasan. And then we come to our final race of the night, and we're back on the turf for the Zoho. No need to tell you who sponsors that race. It's worth 300,000 dirhams at 2,810 metres. This is a new contest, and it has attracted a really good field here, Pat.
It certainly has, and it's great to see that, I mean, these opportunities are coming up on turf early enough in the year for horses that I think will be seen progressing on to potentially a spot in the Dubai Gold Cup on World Cup night. So great to see a few of them arriving earlier, and there's a number of ways you can go here as well. I mean,
let's start with King of Conquest, shall we? Because he appears to be the pick for Charlie Appleby and William Buick. Last time he actually raced was in a Group 1 in Germany, but here he is at Newmarket. When he ran in that Group 1 in Germany, he was very disappointing, put a line through that. Al Riffa was the winner, very good horse. But this was the Fred Archer Stakes at Newmarket back in the summer. Just very good, very strong.
Visibly, it was a strong performance, that's for sure. And look, hopefully, we're seeing probably a bit of a different track layout compared to what we're dealing with tonight. I mean, it's a 2-turn race here this evening for this race tonight, and I'll be very shocked to see King of Conquest, if he's not winning the race, at least running a strong enough performance. I mean, the run there signifies that he should be running a decent race tonight, and as I said, the confidence with William Buick deciding to be partnered up here with King of Conquest over Castleway in the race, that's confidence in itself as well. So I've sided with him, but I mean, what did you make of other runners outside of the Godolphin pair? I mean, Pridwin makes a very interesting case here. Connor Beasley jumps on for George Scott. And look, I mean, Danny Tudhope and David O'Mara have had good success with Epic Poet over the journey already. And he's another horse that you've got to be given plenty of respect.
Yeah, I thought Epic Poet was interesting. A couple of his best performances have come at York, and at Haydock. I'm not saying Haydock and Meydan are exactly the same, but there are similarities in the way the course is configured. And I thought that Epic Poet might run well. But I ended up siding with Pridwin primarily because I just felt I know he's 7 years old now, just felt that he was improving at the back end of last season. I remember him as primarily an all-weather horse, and he progressed, and then he had a bit of a lean spell, came back at the back end of last season, went on his travels, won in Germany last time out, having won an Ireland before that. I just get the feeling that he's probably, at the age of 7, finally found himself, so to speak. And I thought he might provide a bit of an alternative to the Godolphin runners, because he stays the trip. We definitely don't know that King of Conquest stays. He suggests that he's going to stay. Castleway was so disappointing last time out. You presume that something ailed him that day and he'll have to come back from that. New London, the other Godolphin runner, he was third in the St Leger back in the day, that Group 1 race at Doncaster, but he hasn't really delivered on any of that promise. I felt, sounding like I'm siding with the Brits, I felt it was between Pridwin and Epic Poet, and I went for Pridwin. Just felt that he might be maybe a little bit more open to this sort of test here at Meydan. 2,810 metres at a decent clip might just stretch one or two other rivals.
I'm sure George Scott would have been thrilled when he saw this on the program as potentially a race that they could target outside of some of the the longer distance races back on the back end of the season. Great to see them getting here and racing. I mean, he's earned his rating of 110 and he's a winner over the distance of his last two. So that, yeah, for sure, he's got to be right into it. But yeah, a nice little race to finish off. Hopefully the voice has still got enough in it, because I mean 14 furlongs is going to be a nice way to start.
I was just going to say, just pace yourself, Pat.
Yeah, exactly.
Pace yourself. But Pridwin for me in the last race, he's got a tickle of weight to give away, but that shouldn't be too many issues. Let's have a look at Pat's picks for the evening. Away you go, Pat.
Kicking off with Endless Victory in the first. Hopefully we see him run a nice race. Tygo Shea and Bupat Seema in the second with straight level. I've gone Emirati Anna for a first up win down the straight in the third. Awab has to overcome a wide draw, but I thought that debut win was classy enough. San Donato coming back in the field. Tuz and Halasan, they're your locks for the night. King of Conquest in the last here. Hopefully he stays out the 14 furlongs. And that's my look at the 8 races.
Okay, for what it's worth, here are my 8. Intricacy, I'm sticking with him in the first race. I still believe that Naya's got more to come. I love the run of Bombay Bazaar last time out. Should be suited by the extra furlong today. Don Vaccaro, one of the runners for Julio Orozcoaga in the UAE 2000 Guineas Trial, and I thought he will run well. Poker Face, I thought, had a great chance from stall 2 in the Zabil Mile. I think he'll run really well today. Tuz, the answer is obvious for why anyone likes him. Similar story for Halasan, but I do worry about Age of Gold. Still don't know how good that horse is. And Pridwin in the last. 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Yeah.
There we go. I'm looking at your selections there, and I've realised that we've only got 2 that are the same. But
the two,
there are a couple that you've made a case for. I sit there and go, oh, I might have overlooked that a little bit.
Don't,
but anyway,
don't. I mean, no. But at least we've gone for the 2 locks.
Yeah, exactly. I think, as I said, overseas, I mean, for people tuning in overseas, I mean, they're offering you better than even money for that double. I mean, you said Asia Gold's potentially a slight threat, but I mean, if you're looking for something tonight, I mean, that's probably as clear cut as you'll get. As for pick sixes, as I said on course, I don't think that we'll be getting too many people tipping outside of them. They look 2 very confident chances here on the night, and I think both parties would be going into this just almost spending the prize money already.
Pat, thank you very much. As always, have enjoyed that trot through the 8 races that we have for you here at Meydan. Hopefully, it will be as good as what we enjoyed on Festive Friday. If you didn't see what happened on Festive Friday, here's a reminder. Great stuff.
It's gone in bloody reverse.